Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. It's so very cool, as I always preface all my lives with the fact that we can come together wherever we are at whatever time it might be for each of us in this one place to have some good conversation. That being said, this is my human behind human AI cells. It is traditionally done on Mondays, is traditionally done on Mondays, where I just share a little bit about myself in 10-15 minute snippets. I was not able to do that this Monday, and so I thought today I would just do a quick pop-up. And I started off with my first episode was really about, the launch of my business. The second episode was more around the experience and some of the things that led me to launching that, some more of my journey. And then I talked about my why, and last week was my vision. Today, and I'm not always going to recap those, but because we're in the early onset of these, just wanted to share what we did last week and what we're going to talk about this week. So this week, I want to focus really on my journey of healing. And why do I want to do that? Because we've all had a journey of some sorts in which we've experienced some traumatic experience in our lives. Now, what we define as traumatic varies from individual to individual and is super relative, right? Because what was terrible for me may not have been for someone else, and vice versa. And I do believe, I talk about this all the time, that in order for us to find our success, again, very similar to traumatic experiences, what we define as success is different. But for us to truly find the success that we want in our lives, we have to do the inner work. We have to take care of ourselves first to see that sustainable success. Yes, you can have moments of amazing success, but then when you don't, or when you haven't dealt with things in the past, if you haven't done the inner work, it will eventually come back to and creep up on you and, really sabotage, impact negatively, whatever is happening in your life at the moment. That being said, I did actually embark on this journey of healing here on LinkedIn. I'm not so super proud of that. I did not share my actual traumatic experience. I did not make that public, but I was on the fence on how much to share, because at the moment that I started that journey, it was about vulnerability and, how much vulnerability do you want to share with others? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the actual trauma. What I want to do is talk about the journey, because that is so super important. So I think you heard me talk about the fact that, in 2020, I got laid off. Prior to that year, or the 2019-2020 fiscal year, I already started going down this spiral where we as salespeople tend to define ourselves by the numbers, right? If we're not hitting our targets, if we're not attaining, meeting or exceeding our quotas, we tend to allow that to define who we are, and it tends to then, take us down. And I allowed that to start. I was working with a client that I really wanted to see successful. I wanted to turn them around. I wanted to upsell and cross-sell them, but I had this sincere passion to turn what had transpired with them around, which was not my doing, but I had come in to maybe clean up is the best word to describe, but I never was able to accomplish that. That was the first time I had a client that I knew about, at least, that actually really didn't like me. And so I struggled with just, not hitting my numbers, not building enough pipeline, having a client that I was struggling with, that was, all of this was defining who I thought I was at the moment. And it kind of took me down the spiral. So when I got laid off, it was really to my own demise. Now there's a whole story there. It's not fully all to my demise, but the reality is I had a lot to do with that. So I chose, however, once I got laid off, I chose to really work hard to find the next position for me. And within a month, I had like 5 job offers. What I did not do, however, was really focus on the grief, right? I went from losing what I thought was a family at the time to starting another company. And so I never allowed myself the opportunity to grieve. Now, what I realized was, it took me a couple of years after that to realize how very depressed I was, and the impact that it was having on myself, my friends, my family, everyone around me, my finances. I mean, just everything. I was not showing up anywhere except when it was related to work. And what really prompted that was in 2021, this whole journey of healing. In 2021, in the fall, I had like three deaths all in a row. And they were all, two were very close to me, and one was not so much close to me, but the wife I was really close to. And so I really went to give a helping hand because I could only hope that someone would do the same for me. And I also had a terrible, terrible wreck in December of 21 with my daughter in the car. It totaled my car. It was absolutely horrendous. I mean, the Heavenly Father, the angels, the universe, someone was watching out. I could tell that's a whole story in itself. But I also had my blood work done around all of that same time. And I realized that, that something had to change. Like, I knew that what I was going through, it was dragging me down in every facet possible. But more importantly, it was affecting, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, everyone around me. So I decided it was time for me to take control. And I did just that. Now, that journey of healing, I started already seeking out ways to process some of this and to determine why I was depressed and how I could change it. And I've been through traditional therapy to muscle testing, and you name it. I've tried it all. But I did start working with but I did start realizing that I needed to take care of something. So I embarked on this journey of healing where I could really uncover the real reasons why I was in this place and how I could actually get out of it. What I realized was that the reason why I was probably in that depression was some of the things that had happened to me as a child, and I had actually never dealt with. When we look at who we are, we have our organic selves, our aware selves, and our developed selves. Our organic selves are really created by the experiences, or they're fostered by our experiences throughout our lives. Our aware self, we now recognize that our organic self is has spun out of all of our life experiences. And so now we're aware of what we're doing, and maybe not exactly why, but they've come from somewhere. And then our developed selves is that moment where we really have worked hard to overcome all of that. And we now are in this better place on the other side of what I would call this journey of healing. So I did go down this journey of healing. I spent a tremendous amount of time. Thankfully I did, because then I had my father pass, which was a whole nother issue, but and then other things that transpired on and around all of that time. But I am so super honored to have gone through that journey, because it forced me to really focus on the inner work. I had moments of amazing success and those moments were years, right? Where I had was in a place where we built this beautiful home. We had a pool, my daughter was healthy. We were, having fun with friends and making good money and saving and spending and experiencing things, trips to Germany, life was grand. And then I would just have something that would pop up and it would take me down, and I would spiral downward. At what depth, it was dependent on. And those moments of happiness were then skewed with these moments of sadness, which might have been, days, weeks, months, years, very similar to the highs, right? And so what I realized throughout this process was that in order for me to have this sustainable success, where I could navigate these micro moments and leverage the tools that I had learned, so that I'm not always going to be happy, but that I didn't spiral down. That was what I needed to get to. That was where I needed to really move towards. And so I did that. I worked really, really hard, allowing myself to be vulnerable, finding the right people to work with, finding a tribe of those that could support me, and then just doing the hard work itself, like digging down deep, truly understanding what the issues were and then working to solve to them. And heck, I still have to do that. I mean, you know, we are in life on a journey, and my journey of healing, while I'm on the other side, I'm still always going to continue to heal in different ways. And there are going to be different things that I have to work on each time, but that's okay, right? That is part of what the joy of life is. So what I think I got out of that was that this journey of healing was really prompted because of, by the way, it was prompted because I started engaging here on LinkedIn when I started my job, or when I got laid off and I was looking for a job. I really went in hard on LinkedIn. And while I didn't continue hard, you know, I had a couple of different jobs before I started my own business. But as I realized that I needed to do something, I started putting myself out here on LinkedIn in the summer, fall of 21. I didn't realize fully how deep the healing needed to go, but I knew I was embarking on something. And then that fall is when everything just kind of went crazy. And I realized how very important that was. So my journey of healing really started in 2021, end of 21, 22. And I also realized that as part of that journey of healing, I wasn't happy where I was after having been laid off. And I knew that I'd always wanted to own my own business. I also knew that there was a gap that I could fulfill. And I knew that if I was going to be happy and a better person without so much stress, that I could take care of my health, so I could be present for my children and my husband and my friends. And so that I didn't create this, a lot of scarring, both internally and externally, that I really needed to quit my job and start my own business, which is why I launched Success with AI. I shared a little bit about that already. But anyway, that's what I wanted to spend today talking about. I don't know if anyone's out there listening. If you are, most certainly let me know by Team Live or hashtag Team Live or hashtag Team Replay. These are Mondays, usually on for 10, 15 minutes, where I share a little snippet because I've chosen to ask LinkedIn, hold me accountable. I really need accountability. I can hold myself accountable in a lot of areas, but when you add a multitude of things, I can't always manage it all. And so I've got accountability partners. LinkedIn is my accountability partner for this, because once I'm done with each of these videos, I'm going to take them, transcribe them, and I'll be excited to share what that output will look like. That being said, I just wanted to do a pop-up today, and I hope that you come back next Monday, unless I'm on the road. So if I am, I may not do next Monday. I may do it sometime in the week. But I look forward to seeing you guys. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. I hope that the one takeaway that I hope you get from this session is that we have to do the inner work. Whatever that journey looks like for us, whatever that trauma might have been, we have to do the inner work to see the sustained success that we want. And I just challenge you to figure out what your journey looks like. And if you have questions, need help, want support, need recommendations, you know, want to ask about the different therapies or methodologies that I practiced in order to get where I was, feel free to reach out, DM, leave me a comment. Otherwise, I'll see you here next week at some point, whether that's Monday or later in the week. Hoping you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And yeah, happy Tuesday. Talk to you guys later.